Hi there everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're going to go over the Kodak C160 point and shoot camera that was released in 2009, and it was my first digital camera that I had. Now before that I used an old, like a K-Star 110 from Kodak, if you know what that is, with like the Mickey Mouse ear looking film. And before that I used other types of film cameras. And we're going to use a trip to Phipps Conservatory to show the macro capability of this camera and just the stereotypical point and shoot selfie pictures and a little bit of like landscapey kind of interior pictures. But as you can tell at this intro, the video quality of this camera is seriously lacking. So we'll stop using this. It's kind of an eyesore for me. It kind of hurts my brain to look at. So here's the C160, super tiny, really pocketable, really nice, fits in your jean pockets, your back pockets, all stuff like that. Now obviously cameras have come a long ways in the 14 years that this is released. We'll just go over the basics of it, really not much to it. It seems that the retro style old CCD sensor cameras are coming back in some odd way. I don't really get it. As someone that lived through that MySpace era of people carrying these things around the parties and roller skating and all that stuff, it doesn't really go for me. So on the bottom of the camera, we have a little hole to put your tripod into. So we'll put this little button in there from the Manfrotto. Screws in there pretty nice. Not that you're going to use this on a tripod, but the option is there. Working our way to the back side, you have a screen, an LCD screen on the back side. This is a very poor excuse in 2023 for a screen. Even in 2009, it wasn't a very great screen. The screen itself is about 2.5-inch diagonal screen. It's very, very, very dim. As we turn it on to try and show you, that probably won't even pick up very well on the camera. Like, I swear it's on, I promise you it is. And it does not help that the resolution of this is 115 dots. So basically useless if you're trying to see if you got a sharp image. So take multiple shots while you're out there. D-pad to select your menus, to cycle through all that. And then you also have your playback button, your info button, your menu button, and your trash button on the side of the LCD. On the side of the camera body, you have a USB 2.0 out on there. Now it's super slow. Personally, I would go for a SD card reader and just don't even worry about this, because even if you come across one of these, you might not even have the cable for it to transfer the images. So it takes regular SD cards. And right here in this one, we have an old card. We have an 8GB Kodak memory card. I remember this thing being like 70 bucks for that card. Now you can get them for like $2. Goes in the battery compartment. Takes 2 AA batteries. Make sure the negative side is in the first one, positive in the second one, because if you reverse them, it will not shut. And it doesn't really display it too easily to see the positive or negative terminals on here, so if you have trouble closing it, the batteries are in wrong. The battery life on this is to be expected. You probably can get 100 shots out of a set of AA's, maybe a little bit more. Don't expect anything insane. Even video, it's going to suck the batteries down. So I would suggest some rechargeable AA's or Eneloop. Now on the top of the camera, you have your on and off switch and a button to control your flash. This flash is nothing to write home about. It works if you're within a couple feet of your subject, or if you're out here taking a selfie, plenty for that. Now the base ISO of this camera is 80, but it doesn't have manual controls. It does not shoot RAW. None of that stuff. It's just straight JPEG and MOV. You also have a scene selector switch on top, so you can go from anti-shake. So if you are, a very shaky person, it kind of helps with that. But honestly, I just ignore that, pretend it doesn't exist. It says it has image stabilization in this to kind of prevent shaky hands, but in my experience, it's pretty much useless. The next on the top dial selector switch, you have video, then you have auto, which most people are going to leave it in auto. You have a macro and a sports and a scene. Now, scenes is like, the pre-filtered thing you'd get on there normally. And about the sensor in the camera, it is a 1/2-inch CCD sensor. It is 9.2 megapixels, which was kind of a big deal back in 2009 when this released. And just so I don't read the resolution incorrectly, The max resolution of this is 3472 by 2604 with a crop factor of 6.02. It has a normal focus range in auto of 60 centimeters and a macro focus range of 22 centimeters. The aperture on the lens is 2.9 to 5.5. Now if you convert this to full frame aperture, it is equal to f17.5 to f33.1. So clearly indoors, use the flash every time, because it's, even with the flash, it's going to look pretty terrible, and the autofocus is just, it's hit and miss, as you would expect for being 14 years old. The minimum shutter speed on this is half a second with the maximum about 1/1400th of a second, which is plenty for your typical run around, take pictures with your friends, family, kids, stuff like that. But don't be expecting to do anything more than that. This is literally just a camera that you put in your pocket that you're going to use for fun stuff, nothing meaningful. Now obviously people's cell phones will be better than this, but they don't have the same baked in look from a CCD sensor, if that's what you're going for. And also, I mean, even for this being 14 years old, the autofocus is still good enough to take a picture of a person sitting there. And even some cell phones will miss that as well. So, you know, it's really an apples to oranges comparison, but that's what it is. And my favorite funny memory about this is whenever YouTube started getting kind of popular. And it used to have a sticker on here saying, "Share on YouTube," which was hilarious because you've seen the video quality of this, and they're marketing this to make YouTube videos with it. It's amazing the way technology has gone. So here in a second, we're gonna make a trip down to Phipps Conservatory. We're gonna compare this point and shoot Kodak camera with a $300 or $400 used Sigma macro lens for Nikon F-mount DSLRs. And obviously the negatives between the two is you're not going to get the depth of field out of this point and shoot that you will with a regular interchangeable lens camera. The video quality isn't going to be the same, but it's still going to have some characteristics to the sensor that some people still really enjoy. It's kind of like listening to music on a record. Some people just think it sounds better. Well, that's a bit odd and rare. Front row parking at Phipps. I can get out of this crappy weather and go take pictures of some flowers. So this will be the mic test on the Kodak C160. And just so you know, every picture in this from the camera and the cell phone is going to be unedited and uncropped, even if it doesn't fit the 16:9 video aspect. But everything from the Z9 will be edited and cropped to fit the video. Pretty interesting. It's got the tally light on the front, so you know when someone's recording, so that's kind of cool. Even, you know, high-end modern cameras don't really have video tally lights on them unless they're specifically a video game. Pretty neat. So if you've enjoyed this video about the Kodak C160 point and shoot from 2009 with a CCD sensor in it, subscribe to the channel, comment down below if you had something like this whenever you were growing up, back in your late teenage years or early teen years if you're younger than me. And if you've had any fun experiences with it, because this used to be all the rave to take out to your high school parties. MySpace and everything else. GeoCities was a huge thing back in the day. So until next time, I'll see you out there. Happy shooting. Note to self, this camera does not help handshake at all, even if it says it does.